The following program is a color feature presentation on the HSM Television Network.
Hey, baby! We're gonna be here all day, baby! I like this kind of party! I like this kind of party, baby!
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
The absolute worst!
Nobody circles the wagons like the Kansas City Chiefs. What the hell happened there? What a weekend, huh?
Once again, I am denied from a perfect round of playoffs. It's like this past weekend, everything went the way I was hoping for, except the goddamn Chiefs had to win. And
I guess it went pretty much perfect for me. I don't have as much animosity towards the Niners quite yet, but hopefully your Packers do some work next week.
I mean, in terms of the NFC West, the Niners are by far not the most egregious team.
Clearly, and we got the result we wanted. But yes. I think we have to start with, Greg, your Irrational Confidence AFC South.
The Tennessee Titans.
I couldn't believe, because we all said it last week on the show. It's like, thanks Titans for knocking off the Patriots, but the ride ends now, and holy shit.
I forgot what time that game came on, so I was actually listening to it in my car because I'm like, oh, it's on. I went to NFL radio on Sirius, and they're like, the game was already on. And I look at them like, is that right? 14-0 Titans? Mm-hmm. And sure enough, and then I got home and watched the rest. I'm like, I can't believe this. I just can't believe this. And somehow they let Lamar Jackson throw for 350 yards and rush for 140 and held them to 12 points. I don't even know how that happens.
The Ravens got into Titans territory 9 times.
Yeah.
Well,
and scored 12 points.
Apparently, this is just and I admit I have been watching the Titans play a lot this season. But apparently, from what they were talking about during the game on the television feed at least, was that apparently this is very standard for them. The Titans give up a ton of yardage, they give up a ton of red zone attempts, but they just are very good at holding the line. They bend a lot, but they're very good at not breaking. So apparently this was just par for the course for them. They've been winning games like this all year.
Well, and Ryan Tannehill only threw for 88 yards, but the passes he threw were really good ones.
Hey, if you're only going to throw for 88 yards, then you make them count.
But these guys are like the 72 Dolphins, man. I mean, they went 17-0, passing for 100 yards a game.
Now, let's not go comparing them to the greatest football team of all time.
I didn't compare them to the 89 49ers, so I'm not worried about it. But no,
bust through the wall here and
right, exactly. Hit us with the champagne bottle, right?
Yes.
But that's what it reminds me of, is that team, or what was the other one they said had done it? The Steelers. But I don't remember them not throwing the ball as much. But I guess they didn't.
When it comes to Super Bowl champion teams that have had really bad offense, my first thought is always what was it, the 2001 Baltimore Ravens?
Hadn't scored a touchdown in 5 games or something.
Yeah, when they went 5 games without scoring a touchdown. Trent Dilfer was their quarterback.
But the 72 Dolphins didn't have a bad offense. They just didn't throw a lot. They had
Larry Zonka and Mercury Morris.
Mercury Morris, and Jim Kick, and I think 2 of those guys went over 1,000 yards in rushing, and the other one had 800.
I know these names because not too long ago, I was at Shula's in Tampa, and so that restaurant's basically a shrine to the 1972 Miami Dolphins.
How's the food there? Is it any good?
It's really good.
Okay, cool.
It's a bit too pricey to make a regular thing, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's good, and the menu comes on a football.
Oh well, hey, there you go.
Of course it does.
Right, yeah. But anyway,
there's one thing that none of those teams had, though. Derrick Henry rushing for 180 yards in 3 straight games.
Yeah, that
first time in history that anybody's ever done that, and that he's been incredible. Derrick Henry's always been good, And maybe I don't ever know if anyone's referred to him as the best running back in the league at any point. He's been highly regarded for sure, but he's been relied on. And even when the Ravens put 8 guys in the box all game like they did, he's still getting 6 yards a carry.
Yeah,
it's incredible just how he's powering through these guys.
Well, the thing is that he's huge for a running back, which I think
he's like 6'5", 3 something.
Which I think is rare. I mean, it's kind of like this thing where it's like you're used to like really fast but small guys. And the thing with those guys, is because they tend to be smaller, they tend to not have the longevity. But Derrick Henry has the speed, he has the size. It's conceivable he could keep this up for a pretty damn long time, at least by running back standards, because he's got the physical body needed to take a lot of that punishment. So, whoa, Greg.
Oh, jeez, really already? Is it back?
Hello. Say something.
Am I okay?
A bit.
Getting better.
Hold on.
Okay, now
hold on. Okay, all right. Well, then fine. We'll just leave that in there. He reminds me of Earl Campbell, just a big bruising guy that had speed and everything. And I mean, like I said, this is the Titans are playing like 1974 football here, and they're one game away from the Super Bowl. It's like I don't even get this.
I mean, I mean, it's really interesting, and I've got something to say about the potential AFC Championship matchup, but we got to get to the Chiefs game first. But I think that I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are 3 teams that I think people pegged as potential AFC representatives this year. That was the Patriots, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. The Titans have knocked out 2 of them, and now they're playing the 3rd one. So,
well, here's the thing that I think goes against that. Like the Titans clearly did great. Derrick Henry did great, but I think I'm going to chalk this up to how ineffective the Ravens ended up being. Like, yes, the Titans did a good job of keeping them out of the end zone, but receivers dropping balls, Lamar Jackson, despite his stats, I never felt confident in what he was doing all game.
He kind of it seems to me like at the beginning, it's just like that once the Titans got up, the Ravens were just kind of like, oh God, we're done. You saw Kansas City yesterday going, oh yeah, well we're down 24 points, no problem. We're going to switch this down to rookie level and just hang points all over you for the rest of the game, and that's what they did. And I didn't see that with the Ravens. Go ahead, Mike.
It just seems like the Ravens, as far as like Lamar Jackson went, like he never was able to get it going. Like it looked like he was trying. It just looked like he was kind of stuck in first gear all game. And I don't know how much of that is up to the Ravens as a team, just feeling a bit defeated after the Titans went up 14 pretty early, or how much of that, was in fact the Titans just playing very good defense and keeping him from finding his groove. But Lamar Jackson, like, I've watched my fair share of Ravens games this year. Like, Lamar Jackson is one of those guys where it's like if he gets going early, watch out because, he's going to light you up. But it seemed like for whatever reason he couldn't get that going early on, and the Titans just took advantage of it. I will say this about Lamar Jackson. I think that some of the hyperbole people have been saying about how his career is over is a bit much. Like, God damn it. The guy, to quote our friend, the Admiral, one guy who had an amazing season loses to another guy who had an amazing season, and all of a sudden his career's done.
To people that say that, Peyton Manning started 0-3 in the playoffs in his career.
Yeah.
And if you remember, his playoff debut was a 41-0 shutout to the friggin' Jets.
Well, the hottest of hot takes happened right on our very boards. I forget which member it was that came along and said, Lamar Jackson will be out of the league by the time he's 27. Well, he's 23 right now. So this guy's saying that basically in 4 years we won't even remember Lamar Jackson. And I said, wait a minute. That's just all sorts of dumb. Because even if he flames out as a starting quarterback, he'll still be a backup somewhere. And if he flames out completely as a quarterback, someone's going to make him a wide receiver or running back. So he's going to be around a while. Short of a career-ending injury, he's not going anywhere. But, I know people are like, I told you Lamar Jackson's no good and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's been 2 games. And it wasn't like he went 7 of 30 for 110 yards and 5 interceptions Saturday. He did a pretty good game. So
no, but he's had 2 playoff games, right? Last year the Chargers, where they just befuddled him with 2 safeties. It's just kind of funny. 2 safeties and putting cornerbacks at running back and or at linebacker. Like that's what screws you up. And then this game,
that was a good scheme by the Chargers, though. That was a really good scheme.
Yeah, well,
they're due for one every 15 years. So
didn't make a whole bit of difference when they play the Patriots the next week.
No, it didn't.
But between Lamar Jackson's 2 games, no, he didn't look terrible this week. But there's something. Again, this is one of those things that's hard to quantify, right? But he just doesn't seem like he has the aura about him that you want from a starting quarterback.
Right.
When they're in those situations where when he starts to get befuddled a little bit, he looks a little lost. He looks kind of just like the vacant expression of, okay, well, what now? Like, the stuff that I do isn't working. What do we do? Or my teammates aren't picking up. Like, there was a difference between, say, and maybe this is just an experience level, but there's a difference between what he was doing when the Ravens were down versus, say, what Russell Wilson did when the Seahawks were down.
Or what Pat Mahomes did.
Right. Well, Pat Mahomes, that's an electric offense, and I think there's a lot to do with how the Texans were just really dumb.
Yeah, but
Ryan is kind of a schmuck.
My point was, though, is that when they were down 24-0, Pat Mahomes wasn't like sitting on the bench hanging his head.
No.
He was like, we can still do this. And I never saw that with Lamar Jackson.
I'm even meaning like on the field. Like when the Seahawks were down, Russell Wilson, you could see like he just said, oh, I got to do it myself. And so he started to just pull the ball down and run hard and, be effective Russell Wilson like we're used to seeing. When Lamar Jackson, yes, he would pull it down, but he was just kind of jogging out of bounds, get back to the line. Let's go, guys. Come on. We're doing the offense. There was a clear difference in just the leadership styles there. And maybe that is an experience thing, but
I think that Mike had a good point when he said that if things are going well for him early, he's going to pick you apart. But it's like if I don't want to make it sound like he's a bad leader because I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the huddle. I'm not in the locker room. But it seems like if things start going south for him, he just kind of, okay, well, my teammate, like you said, Zach, my teammates aren't getting it done, blah, blah, blah. And instead of just taking over a game like Wilson does or like the greats do, he just kind of, I don't know, goes with the flow, I guess. And I don't know, but like you said,
it's not like the Ravens were down a whole lot this year either. They were blowing teams out all year, so they never had to
it was really easy for them all season. And I mean, if you remember going way back to whatever week it was when the Browns of all teams just hammered these guys, it was kind of the same thing. They were just like, oh, screw it then. Once the Browns got up, they were like, yeah, that's okay, or whatever. And I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's going to be back, and he's going to be good again. So I don't think they're done. But wow, you go into the playoffs at 14-2 and the number 1 seed, and you lose to the number 6.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I wonder what that could be like. That's never happened.
It's never happened to anybody, has it, Mike? No, it's never happened to anybody. But I think another interesting thing here too is just, again, it's not necessarily all on Lamar Jackson, but the whole Ravens team kind of looked like not totally ready to be there. And I mean, we've seen this time after time with teams that have the bye weeks, but not only that, when you're locked into the number 1 seed like they were, you sit guys for week 17, and then you're sitting for the next week, and then you're expected to get right back up for a team that is trying to give you everything they got after doing what they did last week. We've seen this so many times where teams fall flat that you would just think that you got to do something to alleviate that. And it didn't seem like the Ravens did because they've been essentially off for 2.5 weeks of not playing football.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it too, better?
Yes.
It's like if I turn my head now. If you think about it, we've made fun of the AFC all season, but really, when you break it down, the talent level between the Ravens and, say, the Titans isn't that different. It's not like there's a huge gap between 6 and 1. I mean, there's certainly a gap, but I think that, a lot of times the number 1 seed gets a team that's bad and just shouldn't be in the playoffs. and then they roll over them easy and they move on. But maybe this was a case where the Titans have been pretty good since they went to Tannehill at quarterback. They went 7-3 down the stretch.
Yep.
So maybe the Titans are better, and maybe the Ravens, when you look back at who they played, maybe they aren't as good as we thought they were. And it's just one of those things that I don't know. I just know that of all the things I thought would happen this weekend, the Titans going into Baltimore and taking care of business against the Ravens wasn't any of them.
As I said in our group chat, these are the same Titans who defeated Super Bowl favorite Cleveland Browns in Week 1. So
that's right. They've beaten the Titans have now beaten the Super Bowl favorite Browns, the Ravens, and the Patriots. How can you not just give them the rings now?
Yes, because the Browns, Ravens, and Patriots, those are 3 teams that are the same.
Well, one of those teams that the Titans beat down the stretch was the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the last loss the Chiefs had back in Week 10. So they'll not that they've shown any lack of confidence in the previous 2 games, but they're certainly not going to lack any confidence going into Kansas City next Sunday.
Well, at this point, you're on house money. Win or lose, how can you say they've had a bad season at this point?
Oh no.
You knock off the defending Super Bowl champions, and the next week you knock off the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Really, I don't know. I don't think cash the ticket. Kansas City's such an X factor too. You just don't know what you're going to get.
There's always the Reed. There's always Andy.
Always the Andy Reid factor, exactly.
And it looked like we were getting vintage Andy Reid, at least to begin with, on Sunday.
Yeah. Speaking of that game, fuck you, Kansas City. 1, because I hate you, and 2, we could have had an all AFC South AFC Championship game. We could have had the Oiler Bowl.
Oiler Bowl, yeah.
I can't believe that was almost what we had.
I liked what people were saying on the boards, where it's like the winner gets to be the Oilers and wear their good uniforms. Therefore, we're pulling for the Titans because they have the most to gain.
The best thing I saw was somebody on Twitter said they should flex this game to Thursday night if they play it.
Yeah, send it to London was one I saw.
I was like, you almost have to, right? Titans, Texans, you got to put it on Thursday night.
The Jaguars aren't in it, so
no. Jaguars Titans is the Thursday night matchup of
forever Thursday night game.
If nothing else, they should have at least made them play it on Saturday if the Texans were involved. Come on. Yeah. We're not, normally we do both championship games on the same day, but this year we're going to put the Texans on Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning. But Texans, Titans, that would have been crazy. And it almost happened. For 8 minutes, it looked like it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, it looked like the Texans had the Titans kind of shell shocked.
It's really insane that I think someone else mentioned it. It's so weird. You never see this for a game where both teams got blown out.
Yeah, exactly.
The Texans. Sorry, not the Tex. Yeah, the Texans blew the Chiefs out 24-0. Mm-hmm. And then what was it? There was
the Chiefs are hold my beer. We'll show you what a blowout really looks like.
Scored, I think it was at least 31 points in a row.
I think at one point wasn't it something if you took the last 3 quarters, it was 51-7 Chiefs.
Yeah.
And oh God. You know what this reminded me of? This was the football equivalent of that reverse sweep that the Kings pulled on the Sharks, where the Sharks were winning the first 3 games 8-1, 6-1, and then the next 4 games the Kings just reversed it and started winning by huge margins. That's what that was.
Well, it was just so spectacular because the Texans had the opportunity to really kind of kill this thing early. And so a lot of people are hammering on Bill O'Brien, and I think they're right for Bill O'Brien, and they rightfully should. But not – I think the first 4th down that he didn't go for, I understand. Just get your points. You're up 24 to nothing. You're up – that's 4 scores. You're still in good position. The problem is if you don't go for it on 4th and inches at the opposing 10 or whatever it was, why the hell are you going for it on 4th and 4 at your own 30 on the next drive? after the Chiefs have already scored a touchdown in 3 plays, showing you that, hey, they're still the Chiefs. They still could be back in this thing, and you could hand them the ball at the 30 if you screw this up. And
well, the Chiefs, after being down 24-0, the Chiefs got it to 24-21 in 3 minutes and 20 seconds of game time.
3 whole plays, wasn't it?
Yeah, they didn't even have the ball that whole time. That was 3 minutes and 20 seconds of game time. I think they did it in like a minute and a half or something like that. It was insane.
Yeah,
it was like if you ever, like, you're playing Madden and it's one of those computers like the PS4 is not going to let you win no matter what. So you're like, fuck you, and you put it all the way down to rookie. That's what it looked like. It was like, okay, we're not going to let us win. Fuck off. We're going to play on rookie and just blow you out. And that's exactly what it looked like to me. It was like, holy shit, where did this come from?
Right.
I mean, and you knew once it got 24-21, it was over.
Right. Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like, when the Chiefs score that first touchdown, why do you even think about giving them the ball at the 30? Just punt it. Punt it deep. Make them try to work for it at least.
Yeah.
But you do that. You screw up the 4th and nothing. You just give them the ball at the 33. They score 2 plays later. Then you kick. And then on the ensuing kickoff return, as soon as the blocked the stop 4th down happens, that's when I knew that this thing was it was turning. Like the Texans were going to lose after that because it dawned on me then. Like, you look at the clock and you're like, oh, there really is still a lot of football left. Mm-hmm. And the Chiefs might have something here. And then they stop on the 4th down, they score, they force the fumble on the ensuing kickoff, which I could do nothing but laugh at.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Like, of course, here we go, and lo and behold, then the Chiefs just off and running, and Andy Reid gets spared from the old Andy Reid takes, and instead Bill O'Brien's the one that's getting the brunt of the criticism today.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. Like Mike said, both teams got blown out, and you don't really ever see that. But I think the scope of the comeback is kind of lost because the Chiefs got back in it so fast. But a 24-point comeback in a playoff game.
They scored 4 touchdowns in the second quarter. I think they said that's the first time in playoff history.
Mahomes' 4 touchdown passes in one quarter was the first time since Doug Williams had done it, I guess, is what they were saying. And it happened so fast. And then the Chiefs just said, okay, we're back. We're in the lead now. Now let's just put the hammer down, which really is what you should do at that point, I would think. You can't give them any chance to get back in it because Houston showed that they could move the ball on occasion. So I don't know. It was just the weirdest game I've ever seen.
Yeah, it makes there's obviously a big difference between the Chiefs and the Ravens, despite the fact that they lose. But it's like you look at the way the Ravens played. It wasn't like they were battling to the wire with the Titans. And the Titans just edged them out. The Titans dominated that game. Yep. And we now feel probably less about the Ravens going into next year than we do otherwise. And now the Chiefs, it was going to be same old Andy Reid. Here we go. And now, despite them having an up and down season at times, the Chiefs feel like the team that they should have been. It feels like maybe the Chiefs should be the overwhelming favorite to get to the Super Bowl and maybe win it. They seem like the best team left now, right?
Them or San Francisco, yeah. I would say that this is, of all the years the Chiefs have been trying to get there, this is the easiest path they're ever going to get.
They don't have to deal with the Patriots.
No Patriots, no Ravens, nothing. Yeah, it's just like, look, you've got the Titans, and I think that I don't know if Kansas City can score where Baltimore couldn't and where New England couldn't. I think Kansas City's got enough offense to go, okay, let Derrick Henry have 180 yards. We're going to hang 40 on you. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. This also has the potential of being one of the greatest Andy Reid moments in Andy Reid history, where they've laid it out for you. Now you've got a 9-7 team you've got to beat to get to the Super Bowl finally, and he could find a way to blow that just as easy as they could go out and win. So it's a very, very intriguing game. You never know what you're going to get with the Chiefs. You just don't. It could be anything.
Yeah.
And all points in between.
Yeah. I think the difference too is the Chiefs clearly have that explosive ability still that the Titans don't necessarily have. So I think if the Titans do what they've done the past couple weeks and just grind out and Derrick Henry you to death and hold the ball for 10 minutes at a time, great. If you take 10 minutes to score one touchdown. The Chiefs will do it in 30 seconds.
Right.
They can match a team like that if you're just going score for score. They can do that. They may not run away from you, but they can at least match you with their quickness.
One other thing I think with Tennessee too, versus when they played the Patriots or even the Ravens, I think they'll be able to pass a little bit more against the Chiefs because the Chiefs' defense has improved, but it's still, I don't put it near the level of New England or Baltimore's defense. Baltimore's defense was pretty underrated all season. It was actually very good. So that'll be interesting to see too if they turn Tannehill loose a little bit more, if they do tighten up on Henry. But I do think that if the Chiefs go 8 in the box all the time, Tannehill's good enough. And they've got a couple of good receivers on that team. He can smoke them a few times. That's what I mean. You just don't know with Kansas City because they can be great, like we saw. I mean, we saw all of it in one game yesterday. Everything that they do, we saw all of it. We saw them get down and Andy Reid. Then we saw them come back, and then we saw them hit the the cheat code and become like this great offense. So you just don't know with them. You just really can't ever tell. And I don't even. What's the line in that game? Like 8 or something?
I would assume. Let me see.
7.5, 8 points. No, it's got to be higher than that. Come on.
Let's see. If this could load quickly. 9.5. No, that was against the Texans. Hold on. 7.5.
I see. Okay, I don't bet, but if I were going to, I'd be almost as comfortable picking the Titans to cover as I would be for the Chiefs or the Titans to. Yeah, for the Chiefs, you know what I mean. I'd be okay on either bet. I wouldn't be too worried either way because both things could happen. And I don't know.
I'm going on the Titans, and I'll tell you why. I think Mike Vrabel has proven he's got enough Bill Belichick in him to beat Andy Reid.
Well, plus he's going to cut off his penis if they make the Super Bowl, so that's something to come out too. It's like, dude, you don't say things like that because then this shit happens. And then we all sit around and go, okay, we're waiting.
But
of all the things to say, right?
No, but it's just so weird that this is what people are latching onto because you read it or hear it, it's like, man, I would chop off my own dick to win a Super Bowl. It's like, yeah. But he's not saying that he's not saying if I win the Super Bowl, I will do this. It's like I would give anything to win the Super Bowl.
I know, but now everybody's on it okay.
But it's so weird that people have extrapolated this to reverse the consequences. It's like, no, if anything, he would have already done it so that they can get there.
Yeah.
There's something during the week that hey, if you're going to win this weekend, you got to do it. That's not what he's doing. It's so
whatever
weird.
The case. If they do by some miracle win the Super Bowl and he cuts it off, okay, fair enough, But I mean, it would be hilarious. I don't know that I would make that commitment, but yeah, I see what you're saying though. He was just making I'd cut off my right arm for a World Series ring or whatever, Right. But he said it on a Barstool podcast, so he had to get a dick reference in there. Oh, of course, because they would never even use it otherwise.
Right.
Man, it was just a den of vipers. But anyway, yeah, it was a crazy game. I don't know, what to make of it. We'll get to the championship games here in a little bit. But is there anything even really much to say about Minnesota, San Francisco, other than the fact that the Browns decided, well, the guy that couldn't score points, that's our new coach?
Right. But if you're watching that game and they mentioned during the game the Browns are interviewing the Vikings offensive coordinator and the San Francisco defensive coordinator. Well, you think, then clearly whoever performs better today would have the inside track in theory. No. When because I hadn't heard up until that game that they were interviewing the San Francisco D coordinator, and it's that would actually be a really good choice. I think that guy seems to have everything figured out, and it's no, we're gonna go with this guy, the guy who has Kirk Cousins and can't really.
Bill Simmons tweeted. He said 7-3 and outs for the Vikings. The Browns have seen enough. They're definitely hiring Kevin Stefanski or however you say his name. Mm-hmm. And I replied. I said that would be funny if it wasn't for the fact there's a better than average chance that it's true. And that was Saturday night. And it turns out, and here we are. But yeah, so I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, San Francisco was just, that game was never as close as the 27-10 score would make you think it was.
No.
And then we've got, last night, my Green Bay Packers Great team for a half every game. Depends on which half, but they're always good for 2 quarters.
They are so unremarkable this year.
Yeah.
For them to be 13-3, like if you told me, if you didn't tell me before the game what their record was, and you said, "Hey, how good was this team this year?" and I'd be like, 10-6.
Yeah,
13-3 is kind of incredible because they don't. Yes, there was a couple big plays by Devontae Adams, but they just kind of get 5 yards a play and just move down the field, and eventually they end up in the end zone, and by the end of the game they have more points than you do. It's not anything like groundbreaking. The defense is good, the offense is good, and Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback, and there you go. Like you're
right
in the NFC title game all of a sudden.
Yeah, and they've got the good running back Aaron Jones. He's really good. He's really kind of flying under the radar with Henry and some of the other big names out there. But yeah, you watch them and you go, how did this team win through? I mean, I've been watching them all season. I go, how are they doing this? Because first off, they don't play entire games. They play a half and they get a lead and then they go, okay, we'll hang on for dear life now. And that's how they've won 13 times. And you got to think too, two of those wins came against Detroit. They probably didn't deserve either one of them because they got bullshit penalty calls in both games that ended up helping them win. So they could be 11-5, and that's more reasonable. And then you look at like some of their losses, like Philadelphia came in there with that, fourth game of the preseason lineup of theirs and kicked the shit out of them. So I don't know. Everybody's like, oh, the Packers are going to, go to San Francisco. It's like, yeah, I'm not printing up my, I'm not ready to like buy my shareholders Super Bowl ring or anything just yet because I think it's going to be really ugly. But yeah, they, if nothing else though, we got what we want. Russell Wilson is gone.
He is gone. He's going to have to. He's going to have to spend his time curing a disease via touch at the
exactly.
hospitals.
Yeah, they ran out of fairy dust.
Like you said last night, Mike.
Something I said last week that they couldn't keep it up. Just wanted to put that out.
And you also said that Aaron Rodgers is a schmuck because he's got to go play in the NFC Championship game now. That poor bastard.
Exactly. He can't. Yeah. He won't be able to touch hearts.
Really,
like Russell Wilson will be.
Losing in the divisional round is like winning the Super Bowl for Russell Wilson.
Oh,
because
sure.
now he gets to have all that time to spend with the sick hospital children.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Which again makes us sound like assholes for saying that, but like.
No.
Anybody that knows the full story knows we're not being assholes. He's being the asshole because he exploits that shit.
I'm sitting there watching these games, and my buddies are like, "You really hate the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. Why do you hate them so much?" And I'm like, "Because he's such a jerk. Children's hospitals," and it's like I sound like an idiot. You actually hate someone for all these reasons. It's like I try to explain, well, his persona seems fake and he seems super lucky, and they're like, but if he's super, doesn't that just make him super clutch? I think he's just really clutch. I'm like, no, he's lucky, but he could be clutch. I'm like, I just can't. I can't with you people.
No.
There's a difference, all right?
There is a difference, and it's like it's imperceptible, and you sound like a crazy person trying to like describe what the difference is. But I guarantee you, there's a damn difference between being clutch and pulling horseshoes out of your ass. There is a very big difference. I just can't tell you in a concise manner what it is. I have to give you like a 15-minute video presentation on what I mean.
we need a video presentation. We need like dry erase boards and graphs and all this other shit. But we can show you. We can prove it. We just don't have the capability to do it here on the show. Welcome to Basically a Sports Show, folks, where we hate people that go to children's hospitals.
Well, like they were doing, so they did those Amazon statistic commercials again over the weekend, right? Mm-hmm. And one of them was an Aaron Rodgers throw where I'm like, oh, he's really just falling backwards and throwing a sidearm and just chucking it to the corner of the end zone where there just happens to be a receiver. And it's like, in my mind, that's the same shit I hate Russell Wilson for. However, I think Aaron Rodgers has a good amount of clutch to him because he does have the, he pulls all these Hail Mary plays out. You can call that lucky, but and maybe you should. I don't know. I sound like an idiot. I can't. Russell Wilson is a lucky, undeserving, fake personality schluck, and Aaron Rodgers won the game. So whatever.
You're welcome, guys. That's the thing. I think that if you're just listening to the show and you don't really know you'd have to go back and listen to everything that's built up to us getting to this point with Russell Wilson.
This has been, what, 5-6 years in the making?
5-6 years in the making, yeah. We didn't just wake up one day and go, you know what, fuck that asshole in his children's hospitals. Oh, no. It sounds like right now, we sound like raving lunatics and complete jerks, but trust me, it took us, there was a series of events that got us to this point.
I remember one of the key events being, it was years ago, where the Panthers beat the Seahawks. And some Seahawks fan was like, well, Cam Newton is going to be playing in the NFC title game. Russell Wilson will now be able to spend his time visiting children's hospitals and giving back to the community. And it's like, oh, yes, Cam Newton, I bet he's devastated he gets to play in the NFC Championship game. So it was like that was one of the building blocks. Although, like, Russell Wilson's whole thing, since he came into the league, we've just kind of agreed, like, he just has this air of fakeness to his personality. It's like this sort of like fake humbleness that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But another thing, this is going way back to, I think Andy was still on the show, we talked about this. The dude drove around with a fucking tuxedo in his car. Yeah. Just in case he needed it. I mean, come on, who the fuck does that?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And there was that. And just the phoniness. I mean, and if you remember, probably the second or third year into his career, where they were going to repeat Super Bowls or something, there was a lot of talk that his teammates couldn't stand him.
Yeah.
Could not stand him. So this isn't something that we just woke up, like I said one day, and said, you know what? The guy does a lot of good shit, but fuck him anyway. No, it wasn't that. We built to this point where now we've seen all the phoniness that got him to where he is.
Well, okay. Now, speaking of the Super Bowl, that collapse against the Patriots, right? Because do we trust Marshawn Lynch to get a yard? No, let's throw it. That seems like a good idea. I mean, that was really our first excursion into the Keith Olbermann theory of a loss like that, you got to blow it up.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think that still kind of holds because, okay, the Seahawks, since that loss, have not been nearly the flaming dumpster fire that the Falcons have been since their loss. Incidentally, also to the Patriots. The Patriots
The Falcons have been pretty spectacular in that way.
Yeah. No, it's entirely possible that like two promising teams have been utterly devastated by Tom Brady's reign of terror.
I just hope the Rams don't join the ranks of that. But yes, continue.
Well, the Rams didn't have a devastating collapse, which is
they just played a bad game. There wasn't like different. The interception or losing a 28-3 lead. They didn't have any of that, so they'll be all right.
It wasn't nearly as traumatic. But I think that in their case, like in the Seahawks case, like they have yet to get back to the Super Bowl, and I think there is an argument to be made that maybe that should have happened already. Like the Seahawks need to move on. Maybe not necessarily from Russell Wilson, because say what you want, he is still able to perform at a level that can get you there, but maybe they need to completely think about rebuilding around him, because like they were trotting out Marshawn Lynch of all people way past the Best Buy date. Granted, that was because all of their other running backs got injured, but like again, why is it coming to this? So it might be a case where the Seahawks need to consider that the structure of the team needs to be reworked a bit, and that they've been doing this thing where it hasn't quite been a rebuild, but they've been trying to rebuild on the fly. And I think that it might be time to admit that is not working, and they need a more substantial, ground up approach.
Well, if you think about going into this season, I don't think any of us thought they were going to be. What they end up finishing, 11-4, or 11-5, 12-4, something like that. I think we were looking at them as like 8-8, 9-7. We were like, this is the year where they're just finally not going to get there. And we saw this happen with the Chargers last year, where they won most of their single score games, and it put them like at 12-4 and then the playoffs.
Well, I mean,
Seattle was that team this year, and I don't know how you can't sustain that as the Chargers prove this year. You just can't do it.
Well, I mean, the Chargers did that all year last year, got into the playoffs, beat Baltimore, and then played the Patriots, and what happened when they played the Patriots happened. But then the thing is that when they played the Patriots, like, they got blown out by the Patriots. Like, it was that was never even close. I think the difference here is with the Seahawks. They played all year. They got the coin toss on most of those one-score games. They won those 50-50 breakdowns, and then they didn't get blown out by the Packers, but they lost.
Well, they did for a little while. So in the first half.
They did for a little while, right? But I mean that's kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, which is what I said last week, which is like this whole lucky we're gonna come back and win these close games, like that's not sustainable. Week out, and
I thought they were going to do it again because they came back within, what was it, like 11 points?
Yeah.
And he's just driving down the field, and I'm like, oh man, they still got enough time, and that bothers me, and I hope that I'm wrong. And then I think he threw was it an interception? No, I think it was just a missed pass, and it was like, okay, I think I'm confident saying they're done now, but there was still time, and as somebody that's experienced plenty of this, was afraid.
There is,
but they simply ran out of gas. Like they were down to. They had to bring in Marshawn Lynch off the scrap heap because their other running backs were injured. Receivers were injured. Defensive backs were injured. Like, there's only so much that Russell Wilson can pull along, and if there's nothing left in the cart to pull, then the team's not going to. If there isn't enough team around you, Russell Wilson can only go so far. And he had a good season, good numbers and all that, but clearly the numbers had cooled off in the second half of the season. And I think they were lucky that they got the Eagles in the first round instead of the Vikings, instead of the Saints, instead of something like that.
Right.
And they were able to move on to play the Packers, who, I mean, really, I think if the Packers were playing anybody else, maybe the Packers were in for an upset. But
oh yeah, no question.
But the Seahawks just didn't have enough to go with, and so,
I just think look, as much as we don't like the guy, Russell Wilson's a good quarterback, but what makes him
that doesn't sit right with me. All right,
hear me out. But what makes him like the darling of the media and the NFL is if you throw his luck factor into it, he looks like a great quarterback, but he's not. He's just a very lucky quarterback. Like, if you take away the luck that he has, and I know that, and again, that sounds crazy. I agree, Zach, that he could just be that clutch. But we've seen too many idiotic, ridiculous plays, and this is another thing that got us here. Going all the way back to the NFC Championship game when the Packers blew it against them. He threw the most absurd pass I've ever seen in my life.
That had no right.
Any other quarterback throws that pass and somebody's running it back the other way for a touchdown and straight out into the parking lot. But not Russell. He throws this ball that traveled further in the air than it did distance-wise. Like, it went like 44 yards in the air to go 5 feet, and the guy caught it for a 2-point conversion. And that was like, oh, my God.
And, again, having seen him plenty of times in the division, I'm not afraid of Russell Wilson. He can be beaten. He can be had. He can be intercepted. He can be all that. Just based on – let's just take this last game. Say it was a tie game. Final drive. You need one of these two quarterbacks to win you the game, to take you over the finish line. Would you rather take Wilson or Rodgers?
Rodgers. Even at his less than great state that he's in right now, I'd still take Rodgers.
I don't even see how it's a question necessarily, because we played that game. I mean, it happened.
Right. I understand, but what I'm just saying, like, put them on, like, assume both teams are equal. That you're not just taking Rodgers and the Packers. You're not taking Wilson with the Seahawks. Like, say the game was flipped, I would have been more afraid of Aaron Rodgers coming back with the Seahawks than I would of Russell Wilson, pulling away with the Packers.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense, yeah.
I don't recall. I mean, I could be wrong about this because I really don't go out of my way to watch the Seahawks. But I can't think of too many. I mean, I know they won a lot of games close, but I can't think of many where they did it in like the last 30 seconds or whatever, or, pulled a Tom Brady or a Joe Montana or an Aaron Rodgers type thing, John Elway. It was like they'd get the lead with like 4 minutes to go, and then just kind of the defense would hang on, and that would be it. I don't recall him doing a lot of I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I don't recall him doing a lot of last-minute drives. Now, he may have, and I just don't want to admit it, but I don't recall seeing him do that a lot. He does some good stuff, but I think if you take away the luck, he's Ryan Tannehill. Maybe a little better than that. I mean, I'm trying to think of he's Matt Ryan.
We could potentially see Super Bowl champion Ryan Tannehill. All right.
Okay, I got a better example for you. I think if you take away Russell Wilson's luck, he's Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan's pretty good, but you're really going to look at. I mean, we saw what he can do in the Super Bowl, but I don't know that he's necessarily an elite quarterback.
I think you're right, Greg. Like I'm looking through their schedule right now, and I'm looking at all their close games. The Seahawks game in Week 1 where they just kind of held on by 1 point, which is still spectacular considering where the Bengals finished. They beat the Steelers by 2 points the next week, again where they were ahead as far as I recall. The Rams game where again they were ahead, and the Rams almost came back and lost by a point. They beat the Browns by 4 points. I don't remember that being.
The Browns were up by 20 in that game, but they're the Browns, so of course Seattle won. But it wasn't a last-minute thing, no.
Falcons, they beat the Buccaneers and 49ers in overtime.
I don't think that beating a team in overtime is the same as beating a team on a last-minute drive.
I think the numbers bear that out. Like, yeah, they have a great record in one-score games, but they weren't, winning it at the buzzer or anything. They were just in tight games that they happened to come out on top of.
Well, I'm going to use the Browns as an example. One of the 3 times they were good in the last 3,000 years was the 1980 team. They called them the Cardiac Kids because they won a bunch of games like on within the last 2 minutes of the game, and that was how they ended up 11-5. And then the next year they couldn't do that, and they went 5-11. You can see how it happens, but I just don't recall him being that kind of player. I mean, I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm sure he has, but to go back to the original point. If you're looking at a guy that's going to scare you to death when he's got the ball with a minute and a half left, it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't know that Russell Wilson necessarily can do that. I mean, I wouldn't be crazy about it, but I'd still take Rodgers over Wilson. That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So
it kind of just reminds me of that one time a few years back where the Florida Panthers made the playoffs in the NHL off loser points. and then they lost like 3 of the 4 games they lost in the first round were in overtime.
Yeah, in multiple overtimes, right?
Yeah, overtimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really have to take
that is something that I treasure, that Florida Panthers season, because it was just it's like eventually the game has to end. You don't
I'd have to take a closer look at Russell Wilson's career. I mean, and again, I don't think anybody here wants to say that he's terrible, but I'm going to say 15% of what he does is luck. And I don't think you can say that about any other great quarterback in the NFL right now, where like Tom Brady, I don't know that I would go so far as to say I don't recall Brady ever being like quote unquote lucky. He was just lethal. Rodgers when he was at the top of his game.
Like I remember Brady in his prime being very like precise,
Right.
Like you said, like lethal. Like he'd always hit the right guy in exactly the right place where he needed to. Whereas like Russell Wilson will just toss up this prayer to a guy in like triple coverage and he'll somehow come down with it.
Right, and that's the difference to me. Like Brady at his prime, my God, if you were up like 5 or 6 and he got the ball, you already knew you were losing. It was that simple. Yeah, there's been so few quarterbacks like that. Montana had that, Elway to an extent, Marino to an extent. Then now we got Brady can do that to you. Rodgers when he was in his prime. Mm-hmm. Those are Russell Wilson. It's always Zach. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think that with Russell Wilson, what you're afraid of isn't that he's going to do a Brady or a Rodgers or a Montana on you. It's that he's going to pull some bullshit play out of his ass and beat you like that. That's what you get afraid of. At least that's what I was like last night. I'm like, oh my God, what kind of bullshit is he going to pull tonight to beat the Packers? That's what I worry about. Not like him just like doing a precise, lethal drive down the field. I never worry about that with him. It's always like, what is he going to pull out of his ass this time? And that's the difference to me. And that's why we hate him. One of the many, many, many reasons. If you want to find out, go to basicallyasportshow.tumblr.com, and every episode's there. Find the ones about the Seahawks, and you can relive the whole story to see what got us here.
I think it might have started actually with Andy bringing up that he drives around with a tuxedo in his car.
Right, and the more we looked into him, the more fake he seemed, and that go Hawks after every fucking interview. I mean, just shove that straight up your fucking
go
ass,
Hawks.
okay?
I think did he say something at one? Oh, sorry.
No, just go Hawks, guys.
No, and he did that shit when he was with Wisconsin too. Go Badgers! It's like, go fuck off, Russell.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up too. One of the things that bugs the hell out of me when they do like those player intros.
A whole mess of Badgers.
A whole pack of Badgers, because he tries to get the North Carolina State Wolf Pack and the Wisconsin Badgers both in his thing.
Yeah.
Just like, no, pick one, you jerk.
You went to Wisconsin for one season, dude. Come on.
The other thing I think that really got us is like, didn't he say at one point like God was speaking to him, or like God was on his side? Yeah.
And that crazy girlfriend of his started saying the same shit. And what about that whole thing when they were going to not have sex with each other because God told them not to?
The one thing that really made me, and you should break this out, Zach, the next time people give you a shit about trash talking Russell Wilson, remind them of this, because I actually my cousin actually asked me about this, about it, like why are you down on Russell Wilson? And I just explained this scenario to him. He's like, okay, that sounds douchey, which is when he lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots off that last second interception on the goal line. Russell Wilson did an interview where he said that as he was standing on the field after the game, God spoke to him and told him he was using Russell Wilson to teach the world humility.
Right. What the fuck? Who says that? Come on.
Pull that antidote out next time, Zach. I guarantee you people will understand.
See, dear listener, we didn't just arrive at hating a guy that does good things. We have a lot of legitimate reasons for it. We're not the horrible bastards we sound like, believe me.
Fuck that guy at his children's hospital.
Right, exactly. If I thought for 1 second that he was going to those children's hospitals because he thought it was a good thing to do, I'd shut up. But I don't believe that for 1 second. I think part of it's for the right reasons, but I think there's a bigger part of it, is that he goes there because he knows it makes him look good. And that's what drives me nuts. A guy that really wants to just do that kind of philanthropic work is just going to do it quietly and not say shit about it, not draw attention to it. But not Russ, no sir. And really teach me humility. No, but I look, I don't like the Patriots, but I got a huge kick out of that. I thought that was funnier than shit when he threw that interception and the Patriots won. I don't care.
I will say that 2 of the last 3 Patriots Super Bowls have been tolerable to me because 1, that happened to Russell Wilson.
Right.
And 2, the whole Headley Lamar Atlanta Falcons thing. Like, beating the Rams was a real downer because I really like that Rams team. But the fact that they beat the Seahawks or the Falcons, I mean, honestly, I'm not too broken up about those in the long term.
I wanted the Falcons to win, but when it just got to the point where you're like, there's no way they're stopping the Patriots, then it just got funny. Because then you started thinking about this guy that we sort of
that was
$10,000 to watch that.
To watch his team become historic and maybe not the way he expected.
Right. And he was, just the way he was presenting himself with the whole, I'm going to the Super Bowl, it's going to cost me $10,000. And we're like, yeah, you just buy a TV and stay home and pocket the rest of the money and blah, blah, blah. But to see that happen to him, that almost made it worth it to see the Patriots win. And then, Russell Wilson getting screwed. I would root for, I don't know, man, anybody, I think, to see that happen. But, yeah, so anyway. Wasn't a lot of analysis of that game, but at least you
love Russell Wilson. I just want Russell Wilson.
Understand, that we aren't these like godless heathens that just hate a guy because he goes to children's hospitals. It's way deeper than that.
Robo.
And I think the thing too is, like, to be honest, this game was kind of dull. Like as I said before, the Packers just kind of went about their paces and won the game. in a methodical fashion. Really, the only thing that stood out was that one big play to Devontae Adams. And that was just the Seahawks defense kind of overplaying to one side and giving him way too much of the field to run once he caught the ball. I don't know.
I don't know what's. I mean, I know the Packers don't have like the deepest receiving core anymore, but you still got Devontae Adams, who's good. Jimmy Graham's way past his prime, but he's still capable of a play or two. You've got good running backs. I don't get what is wrong with the offense, because I mean, I know Rodgers isn't. He's slowed down a bit. But we're not talking like Brady at 42 here. I mean, he's still got zip on the ball. I don't know if it's just that him and Matt LaFleur aren't on the same page yet or what the deal is, but they'll look good for stretches. And then it's like, well, what happened? I don't get it. But anyway, they're in the NFC Championship. They're going to lose to the 49ers, but whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think there's anything that I saw from the Packers on Sunday that, increased my confidence level in what they're able to do.
No, you can't even make the argument when you play a team twice. I don't care. The 49ers are still better. You can hope for Jimmy Garoppolo. It's the second time I've called him that this week. Garoppolo to have a good or a bad game and maybe a lot of turnovers and stuff. But short of that Niners defense is ferocious, man. And I just don't see a way. I don't see a path to victory for the Packers here. I just don't.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, do you guys want to talk about the 49ers-Vikings game?
I will say this about the NFC Championship. It's going to be the best uniform matchup of the two.
Oh,
easily.
My God, yeah. And as long as the Chiefs win, the Super Bowl will look fantastic.
Fantastic, yes. Yep.
Because Chris put out the mock-ups of whatever team's uniforms would look like in any of the 4 optional matchups with the patch and all that. It looks like, according to his graphic, the Titans are going to go mono navy blue if they make the Super Bowl. Which means any combination involving the Titans is going to look bad.
Mm-hmm. But what's that? They have swords for shoulders.
They do have swords for shoulders. It was so funny because the Titans uniforms, the whole thing isn't that different, at least spiritually from their previous uniforms. So during the game, they showed highlights of the Titans from 2 years ago, the last time they played the Chiefs, and they had the white helmets, and it just looks so weird all of a sudden. I'm like, what the? Oh, right, no, that's what the Titans used to look like, and hey, that doesn't look half bad. And then they would cut back to this game, like, oh, the stupid navy blue helmets. But yeah, hopefully the Titans lose, and then one way or another, we either get. Which the NFL would probably love this in their 100th season if they got a rematch of Super Bowl I for the Super Bowl.
But here's my thing, okay? As we all know, NFL history didn't start until Super Bowl I, so why are they celebrating history that they don't normally acknowledge? That's my question. But I thought about that. They can
celebrate the 100th Super Bowl later. It's the way it works.
But yeah, I think that if I had to pick, I think we're looking at a Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, which will look really good. A Packers Chiefs Super Bowl would look even better because then you've got, you don't have 2 red teams going against each other. Mm-hmm. But either way, as long as the Titans.
Well, I mean, if we get the Chiefs in it, right, then we're either guaranteed the rematch of Super Bowl I or we get the Montana Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Montana can be out there for the coin toss.
And really, even if no matter what team wins, you're going to have similar uniforms because gold helmets, yellow helmets, gold pants, yellow pants. They're all on the same tree. The
AFC is the home team this year.
Yes. Right. So if the Niners get in, they'd be wearing white over gold. That would look really good, actually. Yeah, both teams would wear their white jerseys against hopefully the Chiefs.
Whereas, but then again, I don't know. I think Vrabel has it in him to beat Andy Reid. I mean, because Andy Reid hasn't Andy Reided yet. We thought it might happen, but it didn't. So,
Mike, on the right day, we have enough to beat Andy Reid. Forget Mike Vrabel.
I mean, as Greg said, I think if there's a year for the Chiefs to do it, if there's a year for Andy Reid to not be Andy Reided, it might just be this year.
Yeah.
Like everything's there. Because even the teams out of the NFC, despite early on, them pulling away record wise, the Packers and the Niners. I mean, I don't think they're like these runaway great teams.
No, I think that the Chiefs can beat anybody left in the field right now.
Yes,
no problem. You look at the Titans. Well, I guess sure if everything falls their way, yes. But the one team that you look at and go, they can beat anybody left with no question is the Chiefs. The 49ers are really good, but I don't know.
Yeah, now watch Andy Reid blow all 3 of his second half timeouts in the third quarter.
No, he'll find a way to do it in the first half somehow. Like, we've never seen this before. It's a playoff full of firsts in the NFL. Andy Reid used 6 timeouts in the first half, and he's not even allowed to do that. But since he's Andy Reid, we let it slide. Because we all know that you need fuel for your social media posts. It's nice though, right? I mean, we really, we've got. I mean, I guess a lot of people don't like the Packers, but still, there's really
I'm honestly on everyone but the Chiefs. Anyone but the Chiefs. I'm fine with anyone except them.
Yeah, a lot of people, don't want the Packers, but the other 3, I think, outside of you, Mike, I think that they're all fine with. And then
it's funny, yeah, because of the teams left, I wouldn't mind the Chiefs winning.
Right.
Look, it's just it's residual AFC West hatred, all right?
Yeah, I'd be I would have never rooted for Baltimore no matter what. So yeah, or if Minnesota had gotten, it's like no, sorry.
The Chiefs did win the second Super Bowl, right?
Fourth.
They do have one.
Yeah, they were basically, after Joe Namath and the Jets upset the Colts in Super Bowl III, everybody's like, it's a fluke, and then Kansas City came out and just beat the shit out of Minnesota in the Super Bowl the next year.
Which is why, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing where it's like, if you look at the first 4 Super Bowls where the NFL and AFL were separate leagues, they went even with each other, 2 and 2.
And the Chiefs won, I think, 23-7, and I remember watching. I was like 8 years old. That the Chiefs won. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I don't know if Minnesota just choked or what, but that pretty much was
Minnesota choking a big no.
Yeah, I know, right? That was the first time.
That was the first.
Well, Super Bowl IV legitimized the AFL, and that made everybody a lot more comfortable with the merger. But then again, I don't know. I just wish they'd never merged. I think that would be so cool right now to have the 2 separate leagues still going at it. That'd be awesome. But what are you going to do?
I know.
Let's wrap it up, guys, so we can watch the National Championship, which currently is tied 7-7. We'll have our Super Bowl participants next week. Hopefully it'll be the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs, but whatever.
You guys going to the Pro Bowl?
I don't think so.
Is it in Orlando again?
It's
Orlando, yes. Yeah, I'm going to be down there, Mike. You could actually go if you wanted to, but
I would. If you want to meet up for drinks or whatever, I'm down for that, but I don't want to waste my time at the Pro Bowl.
You don't want to get in the car and drive all the way to Orlando for a fucking game we don't care about, really?
I unless you want to do a live broadcast where Zach is asking us
what's
for the
going on? What's it like?
Tell us what the atmosphere is down at the Pro Bowl.
Well, Zach, there's hardly anybody here, and the people that are here really don't care at all what's happening on the field.
Everyone's either on their phone or drunk or both, and the uniforms suck. So
right, yes, there you go. Back to you.
Also, nobody of note is playing because they all said no. So
right, yeah. Yeah, Baker Mayfield, Pro Bowl quarterback. That's all you need to know right there. Anyway, folks, follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, and the YouTubes. And with that, we will see you all next week. Go Packers.
Go anyone not the Chiefs. Irrational Confidence Titans, I guess. I'm taking up that banner for the week. I guess I'm the Irrational Confidence Titans guy person this week. So, okay.
Yeah. Go football.
Go football.
has been a Film Waste presentation, darling.